Tonight, you guys, we're enjoying a nice serving of reheating my nachos. I made the script for this back in August of 2024. And I just never brought it to life. Define love addict. Somebody who thinks that you can't live without dating apps. You can't live without dating. You need to be available to men at all times. That you should be on pursuit of being in love at all times. Always having a relationship, if not a situationship, in the name of being involved in something romantic 24/7. Feeling like your life must have romance in it, specifically with men. Hi guys, I feel so cute today. Today is episode 43, Decentering Men, Why Being a Love Addict is Ruining Your Life. The cost of being a love addict. What centering men steals from you. Today is going to be a little bit of accountability vibes. This is like if you have symptoms, we're going to talk about what they look like. And then we'll talk about why the need to center men is a lie, which by the way, you guys, when I did my last Decentering Men episode, I think I lost like 30 followers. There are women who do not fuck with this topic. They're like, how are you supposed to live without a dating app? What do you mean that like I'm just supposed to not date someone or I'm just supposed to be alone? Like I deserve to have a partner. I deserve to be in love. And we'll talk about all of that today. But like women just are generally not on board with this topic. I'm going to make this topic anyways though, because I feel like decentering men is this conversation that we could just keep building on top of that I think right now has a positive ending for all of us. The cost of being a love addict, what centering men steals from you. Being a love addict is like a replacement to fulfill something and to occupy your mind. Being a love addict is the equivalent of being addicted to a substance. And I say this in the way that you experience withdrawals and the way that love addicts are always looking for a source. I also think that love addicts are at risk of being taken advantage of by men because these men know that these women are looking for a love arc in their life. I think if you are somebody who is love addicted, you're also at risk for making space for gaslighters, inconsistent men, and men who are eager for you to center them. Because contrary to popular belief, the smell of being a love addict is loud. In fact, a lot of women who just want a boyfriend or feel like they can't find one are very vocal about it online. And I know because I was one of them at one point. I used to genuinely think, what's the point of being hot and having lip filler and Botox and being in the best shape I've ever been if men around me aren't either pining to date me or dating me, or if I'm not booed up and on my way to being booed up. Like, what a waste of all this hotness. Like, guys just really want to take me to dinner. Like, I'm just going to go on a never ending amount of dinners. I genuinely used to be so upset about it. So I'm not trying to knock anybody and I'm not trying to put all the onus on women today. This is just for awareness and for self-reflection. People who are love addicts, they're usually so eager to find love that they're willing to overlook men who have gaslighting tendencies or guys who can be inconsistent or guys who are actually like putting you in a position to center them. And when I say that, I mean you're texting them first for plans if they're still happening or not. You're the one being willing to drive around your car for them, like pick them up, being willing to pay for stuff, being willing to open your own door around them, and, you know, just overlooking non-gentlemanly behavior. When you're a love addict and you find somebody who's willing to meet you where you are with what you want from your love story, it feels very rewarding in the moment. So even if it is somebody who is inconsistent, flaky, somebody who's revealing deadbeat dad tendencies, you're still like, okay, well, at least I'm having a love story. That's like the danger of being a love addict, like doing anything to get the high of being in love. The problem with being in love with that love story that I find with people who are love addicts, who tend to just say like, hey, well, at least I have love. At least I'm going to be in love, or at least I'm going to have like somebody in my life and I won't die alone. They don't understand like why love bombing is bad. They find themselves rushing into the love story because they don't understand that with love bombing comes the cycle of the discard. Have you ever noticed that love addicts usually don't stay in love? They usually go through like person after person. Like they're almost the same, if not very similar to the last guy. Or they're very vocal. Like there's one girl on TikTok who I know is very vocal that she keeps having the same like fumble ghost story of like man who's not serious, who gets like super close and super intimate and then like backs out like at the 3rd month, 6th month. That's the problem with being a love addict. The chase for that high almost sets you up for that. And it almost like makes you walk into it very blindly, because on top of the high that you get from chasing the love is the high that you get from the hope and the high that you get from the optimism of potentially having that in your life, and every chance being a new chance. Love bombing is bad. It's not the actual love in the bomb. It's the cycle of the discard. With that comes men who will play on your love addiction. And if you are a love addict, depending on how young you are, maybe you are early into this life, but you can be one for 4 to 5 years. Some people do it for decades. Some people are in their 50s being love addicts, but the man who's taking advantage of it still. Discombe says, do you think men want the love addicts? Only men who enjoy insecure women, honestly, but we'll get to that part. Love addicts can end up in limerence cycles of 5 to 8 years, if not decades. And if you guys are familiar with even having a mother who is a love addict, you know that they're willing to neglect their family, or sometimes they'll even turn on their kids in the name of fueling their love addiction. In 90 Day Fiancé, Danielle and Muhammad, I always go back to this couple, but like, she called the cops on her kids in the name of being with Muhammad, a man who didn't actually really like her, by the way, like 30 years her junior, and from another country. He was there for the green card. Absolutely there for the green card. Anyways, yeah, she was willing to turn on her kids just to procure her love with Muhammad. So these women are your friends. They are your mothers. They could be you, unfortunately. And like, when I say that love addiction is a drug, this is why I say it, because it's that blinding, and it's that, it has that ability to make you go that far down the spiral. Something that I find that love addicts all have in common is that they all have a whisking away fantasy, and they also have enmeshment fantasies. I find that love addicts are notorious for not creating their own life path, because very often the life path is finding a love. Like finding a boyfriend, finding a husband. Women who fall into this category have whisking away fantasies. They have enmeshment fantasies. They're notorious for not creating their own life path. Some of them are willing to adopt another man's religion or politics. I knew someone who did it because she was not finding luck with men who were like leftist or liberal. So she just straight up switched to Republican just to be available to them. That was crazy. When they meet a man with a life that's well-rounded or personalized to himself, you'll find that love addicted women will usually relent their entire life to be a part of his. And the men who will eat it up are the men who are going to want a woman that's like the male version of him. You would find that if a man works in law, he would become interested in getting her like involved in law or like working together. I know, like, when I was at my love addiction, for some reason, motherfuckers wanted to hire me. Did anybody else ever have that experience? Or is that just me? Original experience? A lot of women will cling to another man's path or his political views or his religion, because women who are love addicted very often don't create a path for themselves besides just find a love, find a man, find a husband, have kids with him, etc., which is fine if that's what you want. I know people aspire for families, but we're talking about a different breed here. So yeah, if you didn't chase the path of love, think about the impact that would have in the way that you presented yourself, or even the things that you spent your days doing, or nights, or your habits, or even the stuff that you consume online, right? Think about the hours of dating content that gets devoured through TikTok and podcasting and YouTube, the live stream bros as well. Also, if you weren't addicted to love, or if you weren't always chasing love or a man pining after some type of dude, think about the stuff that you would post online. There are women who are like solely posting on their stories just because they want a man to see it, or because they want a man to interact with it or text them back over that photo, that story, or that video. Now we're going to break down some key symptoms one by one. I swear, I promise it's not an attack. This is just to identify it in you. We're going to end this with what it looks like to walk out of decentering men. Why it's not that horrible. I said it earlier, but like, motherfuckers unfollowed me. Guys, I'm live at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I have audiences I've never seen before. I'm like, who are you? So, in the name of making the art that begs to be made, let's talk about the identity enmeshment and the lack of individuation. A lot of women don't know who they would be if they weren't a girlfriend or a wife, or if they weren't something to a man. They become infused with that, or even with that feeling of being someone's crush. It's human to get excited about these types of things. Without a romantic pursuit or romantic interest, they literally feel like they don't have a world without like anybody to orbit. It's the absence of the self that becomes a vacuum for these women that they try to fill in with love. My problem is the opposite. I have to learn to change myself to be something for a man. Rachel, for me, I have to change myself to be the lame, unfunny, uncool one so that they can shine. It's tragic. Point number 2. You've probably heard it before, but like these women will confuse being desired versus being loved. Women who are love addicts conflate attention with value, and they tailor their personality, their voice, their body, their hobbies, all to maintain that attention. But yeah, so when you conflate male attention with actual value, you do a lot of stupid stuff to get that attention and to get that value. And you end up living a very performative existence, which is performative survival. Because when you are a love addict and you center men, you truly cannot imagine an existence or life without their validation. When you are a love addict and you are centering men, you're not choosing self-expression, you're choosing performance for survival. You do everything in the name of getting male validation and attention that you think that they're going to eat up and or like. Symptom number 3, the chase for hope and potential. This is the ones that are in relationships or the ones in situationships. They're addicted to the hope that a man will change or that he'll be different or that things will be different this time around. If they're understanding or low maintenance, that they're going to be chosen by a man. It's the obsession with potential and getting past what should be an expiration date for them. They're also like, they're stuck chasing the fantasy of potential and the potential of hope instead of actually taking in what that man actually is. And all of that is in the name of remaining in love, having the love story, being able to tell the love story to themselves, being able to feel invested in the love story. And that's the problem with that. My next point for the love addiction girls who are looking for some self-accountability today in the most peaceful, loving way I can offer it. Love addiction is sometimes used as a distraction from your own greatness. Centering men is a full-time job, you guys. Dead ass. And that full-time job prevents you from becoming iconic. When I was centering men in my content and in my online presence, I think I maybe had 15,000 followers on TikTok. Like, the writers are real on this side of the equation. If you're centering men, you're chasing crumbs all the time. If you're too busy chasing crumbs, how are you supposed to become an icon? If you were to step into your full power, I bet you know deep down inside that you would be leaving men behind. You would become too cool, too smart, too funny, too powerful, and they would never be able to keep up. Your options would get smaller and smaller the greater you become. And this is tea. This is tea. I think we know this too while we're in school and we're getting degrees. We know that we're getting degrees that we have to become wives and girlfriends for to survive in life. We're like, oh, at least it will make us more of a girlfriend, like, because I could survive less with it. Like, oh, a man's gonna want to be my man because he's not gonna be threatened by my degree. We know it in the back of our heads, and love addicted women know it too. These next two are a little psychological, so I'm going to warn you in advance. I'm not a doctor, but love addicts can carry unprocessed grief or rage about their upbringing. And this can either be about abandonment or emotional neglect. But because rage is quote unquote unfeminine, you can turn that into a chase for love and looking for a love substitute in your life. Women who are love addicted, another symptom that you can find in them is that they're competitive. This is the pick me trait. Women who are competitive in the form of love addiction, they think that men are prizes to be won. So when they feel picked by a man in this love market that we're in right now, they feel like they overcame the odds and they're the champions, and some of them are hyped about that. Some of them genuinely feel so like above all the BS because they pursued a man and got one. Love addicted women usually have a lack of sisterhood, and this lack of sisterhood is also the type that's like, oh, hey, my boyfriend arrived at the club. I'm going to go home with him. Bye. Have a good night. Like, leaves you alone at the club. They're all about being chosen and prioritizing the act of being chosen. Yeah, they're not deeply connected to women. I don't think they even really see women as like actual presences. Like, they're not genuinely connected to them because their pursuit of masculine energy and men is so high. And that's pretty much all that they value. So yeah, cue that girl leaving you for the boyfriend at the party, or canceling to make plans with you, canceling plans with you to hang out with him, or even her bringing him around to every function. Symptom number 900 of centering men. Being so the fuck concerned about whether I'm dating a man. Are you guys asking if I eat my own dog food? Bitch, I've been single for like over a year now. More symptoms on the list of women who are love addicted. Women who are love addicted, usually they don't mourn the man when they leave a relationship with him. They mourn the drama that men bring into their life. So sometimes it's not about him. It's about the adrenaline rush. It's about texting, the games, the what ifs, the highs, the lows, things that make your life feel cinematic when you listen to a Taylor Swift song. But being addicted to the drama is not the same as being in love. Sometimes it's just them enjoying what they think is a passionate life. Peace feels very unfamiliar to these women, if this is you. Another thing about women who are love addicted, some of them have to pretend to be the chill girl to get their man. Some of them will be the ultimate chill girl. Like, that man could say that women are hot in front of her, talk about his type while she's not even the type, and just act like 50-50 monsters. But here's the thing. These women, these love addicted women, are not the chill girls. They're the silent ones suffering. But yeah, these women will let shit slide. They downplay their needs. They act like they don't care when they're dying inside. And it's also that they can be easier to love because they don't want to scare a man off and they don't want to seem like they're too much for him. But yeah, real ones don't get scared off by honesty. Only manipulators do. Another thing about women who are love addicts, when they're looking to be chosen by a man, they especially love to be chosen by emotionally unavailable men. And it's because it makes them feel special. And it's the ego wound. But yeah, they like feeling like they're the exception. They like feeling like they're the one to crack that man open. And they want to be the one that's different, that changed his ability to love others. They just want to win broken games and win stupid prizes. Sorry, you don't need to earn that from another person. Love isn't a test that you have to pass. And if somebody's not equipped to love, that's enough of a reason to move on. Okay, this next one is a sad one. Women who are love addicts, sometimes in the name of making themselves smaller and in the name of silent suffering, deep down, these women don't think that they deserve people who show up fully and who center them back. And they're okay with getting crumbs because they don't think that they deserve more. Their problem isn't that men are trash. Their problem is that they love to eat it. And deep down inside, they think like that's all they're worth. So they're willing to stay and they're willing to take the bare minimum. For them, it's like, it's not about healing and it's not about getting with a better man. It's just whatever they think they are worthy of. I do have some comforting words for you guys so that this isn't just a smackdown, WWE. If you are somebody who centers men and everything that I just said felt like an attack on you or you resonated with it, I want you guys to know that the real danger isn't being single, it's wasting your glow on people who dim it. And this is for the people who fear loneliness. Fearing loneliness isn't like the worst thing that could happen to you. The worst thing that could happen to you is that you end up in a relationship that's gonna suffocate you through mediocrity. So yeah, don't abandon your voice, don't abandon your boundaries. Another thing too, for the women who are love addicted, who are still on the fence with my message, if you stay in the loop, your life will shrink. And that's the part that people don't talk about. Love addiction doesn't just hurt, it steals from you. It takes time, it takes your energy, confidence, creativity, and it keeps you replaying the same emotional playlist for years while life passes you by. You will look up at 40, 50, and 60 and realize you spent decades proving your worth instead of building a life that loves you back. You don't need closure, and you don't need a man to see your worth. You need to stop handing it out. You also don't need another one more time, and you don't need to keep performing your pain like it's art. And my advice to the love addict would be, what sentiments make you the most uncomfortable? I know a few that pop up in my comment section every single time. One of them is, if I'm not on a dating app, I won't find a man. That's not true. If you left your house or if you involved yourself in communities and activities, you would just be putting yourself out into the real life world. You would meet men who like what you like, who are attracted to your candid self that's just thriving out loud IRL. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, you can even use Instagram as a dating app, depending on how you move around the online communities over there. There are couples who are together because they were both in the Ariana Grande fan club stan group text chat. Another thing that love addict women tell themselves so that they can stay as love addicts in ways that they justify it: I don't want to be bitter and alone. Y'all, bitter is code for women who don't tolerate antics and foolery from men. And they don't tolerate it from men who try to exploit them. And then they end up alone, bitter and alone. But that's actually them ending up with peace. They're just mad that you realize that. They're mad that you're better off without them, so they're trying to scare you. The next one that love addicted women will tell themselves: I like the attention and the validation. I'm just going to call it for what it is, and I hope you guys can bear with me, but this is what you say when you have low self-esteem. Like, incredibly low self-esteem on a core level that only you can unpack. Because there is plenty of validation to be had in other spaces and pursuit that don't involve you being at the whim of F-boys. Another thing that love addicted women will tell themselves: I hate being alone. If you hate being alone, something about your current life isn't inspiring or occupying you in a mentally positive way that's nourishing. It might also be a sign that it's time for you to pivot to something that scares and excites you because you're denying yourself of it. But the more random and unique that thing is, the more original it's probably, and it's probably going to be more celebrated. But yeah, I believe that deep down, love addicts know that they could take over the world if they weren't constantly yearning and pining and stalking and wishing for a man. For my love addicted girls who resonate with any of this, even if you still have a crumb of love addiction in you, because hey, I'm not fully cured either. This is something I have to manage. My advice to you guys is have hard conversations with yourself, to yourself, and do it in a way that's constructive and actionable. So many people live lives that don't even peak until they're 60 years old. So you have a lot of time to discover and fail and win and try. The only real loser shit thing that you could do is not even try. Dare to live a little different. Start by acknowledging the high. Love addiction feels good, y'all. It feels good until it doesn't. And that's the trap. There's dopamine, daydreams, potential, the rush of being wanted. You have to get honest about what you're chasing. Are you actually chasing connection? Are you chasing the hit of being seen, chosen, and temporarily fulfilled? Be honest with yourself. Are you addicted to the cycle? Stop pretending that you're romantic and loyal, okay? Y'all are addicted to the cycle. My next piece of advice is that you have to go full no contact with the fantasy. The fantasy is where most people relapse, y'all. Not with the man, but with the idea of him. I call this when you love the lie, not the man. It's love addiction, and you need to detox from the fantasy. So you have to block him, you have to mute the playlist, and you have to protect your peace like it's a passport to your new life. My next piece of advice is that you have to withdraw your emotional labor from men entirely for at least one season. Don't pour energy into decoding, fixing, managing, supporting, or understanding men. Don't try to fix it, don't try to solve it, don't try to diagnose it. We've given enough, y'all. This pause is not punishment. It's rehab. Trust, I had to go through this too. My next point for the love addict, getting past this crap. Who are you when you're not in pursuit of a man, when you're not anticipating a text message, when you're not opening up that dating app, and when you're not trying to make your pain into poetry, TikToks, or any type of form of art? That's where the real work begins, ho. It makes you feel empty at first, and that's normal. You have to fill it up with hobbies that make you lose track of time, friendships, and people that aren't transactional with you. My next piece of advice for my love addicted women: you have to confront the core wound. What part of me believes I only have value when I'm loved by someone else? Love addiction is often a core wound that you feel like you don't have value unless someone loves you. I obviously don't know what that looks like for you. A lot of people who have love addiction also have abandonment, enmeshment issues. They were loved conditionally, or they had very unfortunate circumstances that made them feel like the only feeling that can give them genuine reward and purpose in their life is being loved by another person. So my next piece of advice is that you have to get addicted to something else, because you're still going to crave a high. That doesn't go anywhere because we're passionate. We're people who are passionate and we're alive, and we have to redirect that passion. So we have to try to learn something hard. If we're not doing that, then we have to launch something random, or we have to make a vision board for something that has to be like our delusional, selfish self. It has to be a version that is our fulfilled life, or it has to be a mood board that's of our fulfilled life. So yeah, we have to get so obsessed with our glow up, and we have to fall in love with our new narrative and our new art. And another thing for my love addicted people, you have to accept that loneliness will come, and we have to just let it pass. Yeah, you're going to miss the drama. You're going to miss those text messages, the notifications from the dating app, the validation, and it is going to feel like you lost something. But that's called withdrawals, and those will pass. And when it does, it'll be like you replaced all of that with something so much better. And that will be yourself, your presence, your energy, and something that's not outsourced to another person. In this case, men who didn't even earn it. And something that you can expect when you take on all of this is that you're going to become unpredictable to men, to the algorithm, to your past self. You're going to stop living in response to what others want, and you're going to start creating from instinct. You're going to wear what you want. You're going to post what you want. You're going to live how you want, because your worth is no longer on trial to whether a man accepts it or deems it okay or would date it or marry it or wife it. You're going to feel clear. The static noise in your mind is going to stop. You're going to stop reading into text messages. You're going to stop waiting for replies and cycling through the what did I do wrong and maybe if I were more chill thoughts. And your mental real estate is going to feel free. You're going to start thinking about creative ideas, your future moves. You're going to start thinking about your money, your peace. You're even going to sleep better. You're going to attract, because you're not going to be coming from a desperate place anymore, because desperation often repels people with that desperate energy. And it's going to attract overflow and not from a place of emptiness. When you're no longer centered around needing a man, your energy shifts. The men who were once magnetized to your woundedness lose interest. And guess what? You don't miss them. You start attracting people who see you in your wholeness. And not because you need them, but because your life is already rich and they want to add to it. You build a relationship with the parts of you that never left. That could be your inner little self, your inner future you. You're going to reclaim that shit. And this time you're going to protect her. And then you're going to realize that she never needed to be rescued by the love of a man. And when you become this person who decenters men this way, you get the last word, but not in a petty way, in a divine way. People who used to breadcrumb you and watch your stories, you are now leaving the last word on them because they're confused why you're not available for their toxic, dysfunctional energy, or why you're not feeding into it. They're going to start watching you confused, and they're going to be sad, and they're going to be regretful that they don't have access to this version of you that shows up with confidence and self-assuredness. And it's because you stopped waiting. You're not waiting to be loved, to be picked, to be chosen. You're not waiting to be seen. Now you're seeing yourself, you're choosing yourself, and you won't even want to go back to the version of you that was begging. And if you did, it would feel wrong. It would be like you will feel the reversion in your growth. My final message, if you're still even a little bit on the fence with me right now, if you don't choose to exit the loop of centering men, nobody's coming to save you. Not the next situationship, not the guy with potential, not the one who texts you every few weeks just to keep the door cracked. That is not your soulmate. It's a stall tactic sent by your ego to keep you stuck. The life that you want, the peace, the power, the glow, it's on the other side of the grief that you're avoiding. You're gonna have to sit in your loneliness. You're gonna have to face your own patterns, and you're gonna have to let go of your favorite fantasy. And you're not going to die from it. You will survive the silence. You're going to survive not being chosen, and you're going to survive not being pursued. And then one day you're going to wake up and you're going to look around and you're going to realize that you don't crave what hurts you anymore. And you're going to realize that you've built something bigger than romance. You built yourself. And that's when the game changes. Because now you're not auditioning for love. You are the love. And everything that enters your life at that point, it has to meet you where you've met yourself. Yeah, period, mic drop. And that's the podcast, y'all. I'm like ready to eat some chips But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to give Fleekus away to follow on Apple and Spotify and to leave 5 stars because it helps me out and it spreads Fleeksy supremacy. Also, leave a nice little comment because I read the comments and I enjoy interacting with them. You needed this? I'm so glad. Yeah, so the recorded and edited version will be up hopefully within 24 hours. I'm like, hold on, because I still have to apply to jobs. So lucky to catch this. Oh my God, I'm so glad that you guys were able to, be a part of it. Usually I read the messages in the middle of the chat, but I was like, oh my God, the 2 a.m. audience is so random tonight. All right, everyone. Bye. Have a good night.